The Allyn River Rural Landowners Association was about really a collective being more effective. As a group, we have much more power when it comes to lobbying, and that lobbying can include applying for grants. It also gives farmers an opportunity to work together on issues that they're confronted in the local community. It gives farmers the opportunity to share information, which is important because a task can become overwhelming if you set about it on your own, and we're here to help each other to get things done.
The Allyn River flows out of the Barrington Tops. It runs for about 78 kilometres to Vasey, where it joins the Paterson River. All the land was originally settled, and by the 1950s nearly every farm was a dairy farm. In 1966, my father used to say there were 66 dairy farms on the Allyn River. Today it's significantly changed. There's only one dairy farm left. Basically it's just beef cattle run on enterprises from 10 acres to 2,000 acres.
It's one of the purest water sources in Australia, and we have an incredible weed problem because of the high rainfall. And so one of our collective goals is to improve the health of the Allyn River, and our first project is to eliminate giant reed in the river. We
don't want to be defined by just being a weed control group. What we're looking at is improving the whole environment and the river itself, the health of the river.
And that improves land value, so there's a huge benefit to landowners in making it a much better environment. And it's both flora and fauna, so there's marine life that's getting affected by weeds, so it can only benefit the environment and the people that own the land. We applied to get a grant from the LLS to eliminate giant reed, a big goal, but to eliminate giant reed from our river system. It's not going to work if individuals apply for grants and control weeds on their properties only, because weeds spread, obviously. Giant reed in particular, rhizomes from the plant spread easily down the river, and it quickly becomes a monoculture. So we saw that as a great target weed that is having a terrible impact on the river. Nothing can live in it. If it turns into a monoculture, nothing lives in giant reed other than other weeds. And because the giant reed's there, you can't actually get to those other weeds. And they're toxic weeds like cestrum. To do it as a collective and get a larger amount of money and work collectively, we're going to have a much better chance of starting at the head of the river and working our way down the river, and then following up, I guess with a bit of peer group pressure to make sure that people are then continuing their weed management programs. We have to use chemical, but we're trying to minimise the use of that chemical. If we can get to the giant reed, what we're doing is knocking it down, either with a tractor or with an excavator, squashing it onto the ground, and then when it regrows, which happens very quickly, we'll spray it then when it's 6 foot high rather than 3 metres high or 4 metres high. We're also using drone spraying where there are large patches, so again mapped so that we're minimising the chemical usage.
Drone spraying's really confined to those areas where there's no trees, because obviously any tree on the riverbank is precious. That unfortunately eliminates a lot of the areas, and that's therefore we've come up with this idea of using an excavator.
And then hand spraying for larger stands where you just can't get access any other way, or where using a drone is going to be detrimental to other species. And then for smaller stands, hand cutting or sawing and then painting with the chemical, so there's no dispersion of that chemical whatsoever.
We're starting to find that there's a few landholders who have reservations about using chemicals, herbicides in particular, to control the giant reed, and we need to work with them to reassure them that what we're doing in the long run is going to be a better positive outcome for the environment and the river in particular.
There's also an issue that people think that giant reed is holding their riverbanks together, when in actual fact it's quite a shallow rooted plant with a lot of growth above it, so it can easily get ripped out of the river. And once those rhizomes start travelling down the river, they establish again very, very quickly. So we've got to convince people that a better option is to have native species that are adapted for the river environment.
Because it's got such a shallow root structure, it is so vulnerable to being ripped out and pulling all the soil away. And so there's really no protection. And the only way to get protection is to get rid of the giant reed and get some native trees in there that have basically been evolved to keep the bank stable.
My advice for other rural communities is you'll find like-minded people in your community, get together, discuss issues, and then form a group. It can be completely daunting tackling issues as an individual. It can be time-consuming. As a group, you can share skills, you can share knowledge, and get things done much more easily.
You need a core number of people passionate about a particular problem. And then hopefully it snowballs to the extent that other landholders can see the benefits. You just need to have those common threads that allow landholders to come together and share their experiences. It's also a social thing. It's great in a river valley like this, which is quite narrow. It's fantastic that you can meet people that are further below you or above you, and so you know all the landholders along the valley, and that's what this association allows for.
With this particular project, we've got the LLS involved, we've got local council involved, so that collective's even bigger, and we've got a common goal, and we think that works really, really well.